and we're taking questions online. We already have some in, and I'll start feeding those into the system now if that will work for all of our production team. Brian, if we could start off with you. There's a lot of talk about the snapback sanctions and what's been going on at the UN under Security Council Resolution 2231. But give us a little bit of insight. You and I both served at the UN. What are our allies, our closest allies, saying behind the scenes when the UK, France, and Germany abstain on an arms embargo? What is striking to me is that 5 years ago, under the deal, if somehow Iran changed its behavior, presumably they would have supported lifting the arms embargo to reward Iran. Now Iran isn't honoring the deal, engaging in mischief in the region, and they're not supporting, and they're opposing, an arms embargo on Iran. What are our closest allies saying to you, Brian, and how can they justify what they are saying?
Well, the UN is, of course, an important multilateral body, but on the case of the arms embargo, it's not the most relevant. The most relevant multilateral body is the Gulf Cooperation Council. And you mentioned this earlier, I think Senator Lieberman did, or you may have, Mark. The Gulf Cooperation Council is in the 4th year of a very tough rift. And they came together for the first time since the rift started in June of 2017. Yeah. And they demanded that the Security Council extend the arms embargo. And the UN Security Council has the responsibility for international peace and security. They need to listen to the region. They need to listen to the countries that are on the front lines of Iranian aggression and not substitute their judgment for the judgment of those that are closest to the danger. And so this was a very big disappointment. I think it was a big loss for the Council. This was an important test and the Council failed. I don't know who in 2015 thought it was a good idea to let an arms embargo expire on the Iranian regime. This is a regime that killed 603 Americans, directly responsible for the murder of 603 Americans in Iraq. That's 17% of the total casualties. And of course, when you take that number, you can multiply it in terms of the people that have been injured, many permanently. And I think the theory of the case, is in year 5, the moderates would be in charge. I mean, the world's most famous unicorn is an Iranian moderate in government. It just doesn't exist. And so we never got seduced by this trap of trying to empower moderates. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're in the regime, you're a hardliner. And of course, the regime has this veneer of democracy. It sort of has this Westphalian storefront. But when you look in the back office, it's run by the supreme leader. And he's the one that makes the decisions. It doesn't matter what happens about these sham elections in Iran. And so it's a big disappointment to see the Council do this. We made it very clear that we can do this the easy way or the hard way. We can either pass an arms embargo, or we can proceed to snap back and make the arms embargo go into place that way. Unfortunately, a number of countries just weren't able to see this very clearly. Some are still trapped in the Iran deal. And the Iran deal today is more form than substance. But there are many countries that still, whenever they look at the Middle East, they look at it through their JCPOA lenses. And it gives a very distorted view of the region. We've put in place the right policy. It's been very successful. President Trump would like to see those that are still in the deal to join him in what has been a very successful foreign policy against Iran.